Hello there, great person, and welcome back to Let's Watch Some Old Neil's Mysticism class. Episode 7 this time. I don't know, I did not find the chibi episode. If there is none, okay. If there is one I missed, just post it in the comments like that there is one, because you can't post links, I think. So we will dive into the Mysticism class now. So the middle of the week, a lot of mysteries content will now be at my doorstep, so to speak, and I can't wait to dive into this. Yeah, let's see what they actually lore drop this time. What would I hope for? What would I hope for? Perhaps a bit more about the potions. You know, because I did get it wrong. I think that he already was sequence 8, but he just finished sequence 9. So I do think I got that incorrectly. And we will see what this is about and what old Neil will tell us about today. So without further ado, let's get into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe as always. Also, obviously, check out my own web novel. It's now almost 60 chapters. People seem to be enjoying it. And if you do enjoy it, leave a like, comment, and follow. 23 more followers, and we will start doing Madoka on the channel, so that's something. Anyway, let's go. Let's have some fun. Also, yeah, as always, credits to Merlin Sparrow. I'm using his versions because the Crunchyroll ones might have the spoilers. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go.
Doch ich frag mich, wer wir sind.
So, old Neil.
好学的非凡者们，今天继续我们的神秘学
Yeah,
课程。
let's go.
第一个神秘学知识是通灵术。
Okay,
还
didn't
记得我
expect
给你
that.
们
That's
讲过的
fine.
收尸人途径吗？这个途径下序列7，通灵者的核心能力就是通灵术。
Okay, so Corpse Collector Sequence 7. So Azik was at least 6. I do think he's 4 or 5 that would suit him, I feel, but again, just a hunch.
通灵术嘛
So what are you doing exactly?
就是与灵体对话，可以直接与还未散去的灵沟通，通过设计问题或者诱导。
How long until they disperse? Because I would assume that Klein did not like, and I'm talking about the original Klein, not our Klein, like not Zoe. Anyway, like I'm trying to figure out how long does the soul stay in the body, because we could figure out from that information if we still like is this Klein we follow a mixture of Zoe and Klein, or is it just Zoe taking over Klein and accessing some of his memories stored in his brain, so to speak, you know what I mean? So communicating directly with the spirits that have not yet dispersed also leads to the questions: when do they disperse? Do they disperse over time? Like from physics, most things disperse over time. Like, for example, a wave package will disperse. And that's actually a big, important thing to know, because several communication methods, for example, glass fiber, I do think that's the English word as well. Glass fibers need to be constructed with that in mind, because otherwise the light pulses, laser pulses going through it for communication might disperse, and you might not be able to read them out anymore. So this dispersion over time is very important there. And I do hope you didn't know that, so you learned something new. But it's in muddy time might also be bound to emotion. Might be bound to emotion, because I do think in these kinds of stories the reason spirits linger, you know, I just my thinking process is I'm going the other way. I'm going from ghosts and ghouls, not necessarily ghouls, ghosts, and my favorite monster, the Ondrio, which is a revenge spirit as far as I understand, like these Japanese dark-haired woman like the Kayako Saiki or Sadako from The Ring, you know, they are lingering presences. They linger because of strong emotions, which are negative as well in most cases. At least for the Onryo, they are negative. So they linger because of emotions. So might normal spirits also linger from emotions? Because that's also an interesting question. We did have Azik's son. He got revived at the Wraith. I think he was forced, but doesn't that mean his soul had it was still lingering there? I might misremember. It might be that they had something around the grave that made his soul stay. If I might be tripping, but I think I remember. I don't know. Perhaps I misremember, but I do think I remember that was a thing, that like the grave had a curse or a seal or something against him dispersing. So that soul was very angry in the fight and stuff. So that is very interesting. That's a very big lore implication as well. I mean, in general, spirits are a lore implication, aren't they? Because that means you're more than your brain, which is an interesting idea. From the physics perspective, I would say it's possible. It is possible. We don't know, but I could make up scenarios where I could find arguments for the brain not being us, but we are resting in the brain. If you know what I mean, like I do think there are things there, because you know the interesting thing about the quantum realm, and this will now sound mystical, but it's not really that mystical. It is just what we know, and it sounds cooler because they chose cool terms to describe it. But anyway, so in quantum physics, quantum objects like an electron, a positron, proton, photon, they do have wave-like properties when you describe them via mathematics. So the Schrödinger equation, if you solve that, you get a wave function. It's a complex wave function, though, which means the wave is not it does not have the same dimensionality as normal waves do. So the wave is an imaginary wave in part, which is weird. And that's why I said it's very weird terminology for perhaps lay people. Like imaginary numbers are like just lists. So normally numbers that you probably know are only singular digits or singular numbers. For example, 1, 2, 57, 14.8, square root of 50, pi. All of those are numbers that are just like one dimension. It's just one number. It might be a long number. It might be a number that's weirdly put because like there's a square root around it or something, you know. But it's always just one number. And in quantum physics, there are imaginary numbers, which means that a number is two numbers that you know. So for example, one complex number would be 1, 2. One complex number would be 5 pi. One complex number would be 1750. You know, it's just like a tuple. I don't know if that's the English word or a pair. I do think that's probably an easier way to think about it. So in quantum physics, these quantum objects at least, and they do have more, but at least they do have a pair of numbers ascribed to them. And that is weird because we can't measure that. If we measure something, we measure singular numbers. I do think I mentioned that before. So if you measure voltage, you measure like 15 volt, square root of 3 volt, whatever. You just measure one number. But as quantum objects are represented by at least two numbers, like there's a lot of weirdness going on. Like, and this discrepancy between two numbers to one number, that is where most of the weirdness in quantum physics come from. But mathematics can describe it. And why am I telling you this? Because the point is that what are we as consciousness? If you would even, like let's go very reductionistic. We are just the electric field produced by our brains and our hormones and our biological reactions and stuff. But in the end, we are like energy and and an electric field. And I just mean that technically it's nothing special, like everything's energy. But are we just expressible in numbers, or are we also in one of these quantum states with like more than we understand? And I know this sounds mysticistic or whatever you say as well, and it's really not that mysticistic if you think about it. It's just numbers you ascribe. And the question is, could you measure the full brain with only numbers, or do you need these number pairs or like number triples or whatever you could get in quantum physics? You can get up to an infinite sequence of numbers, actually. So it's pretty complicated, but I'm trying to reduce it. So the idea is then, is the mind the more complex thing we can describe with mathematics, or are we just really just the circuitry we measure? Like, are we just the same as a computer, or like, I don't know, a desk lamp with a circuit inside? You know what I mean? And that's a very, very important thing to understand. So from that point of view, I would say, I do think, my opinion is that we are more than just these numbers. We are at least like like if you want to describe the brain, you need the pairs, at least that of numbers, to describe it. So we are more than what we can perceive and measure and what we think reality is, you know? And I know it's not the same as saying there's a soul. Like, that's exactly not the same. It's completely different. It's a very, very, very lower statement that I just made, but it's a statement that I do think is true. You know, so we are more than the physical nature, if you consider physical nature the 3D world. And so I do think it's really cool to think about it. And I do think the spirit idea is something worthwhile thinking about, but not in these esoteric ways, but more on a technical level. Like, what does it even mean? And I know many people do think about it. Many people do. And I know this has been a big tangent on what consciousness at least is from the physics perspective. So I do think that's pretty clear. And I talked to my supervisor, my PhD thesis supervisor, who's one of the best physicists to exist currently and live. And he did say, yeah, obviously we are more than that. Like, just mathematically spoken, like I don't mean spiritually or anything. It's just like, from the mathematics, if you want to describe the electric fields in the brain and the atoms and all of that, we are more than what we think. We're more than 3D, so to speak. So anyway, so they get desired answers through careful crafted questions or subtle guidance. Do they always get the desired answers? So this also means that it is important to pose the right questions. And I do think we know that from episode 2. We do know that. But what is the right question? It is like, you know how I would write it? I would be like, the higher the thing you communicate with, like the stronger it is, the more precise the question has to be, because otherwise it will gin you. Or just basically like, you make a wish and you get what you like this twisted version of it. Like, for example, you want to live forever and you turn into stone that is conscious or whatever. You know what I mean? Like these things. So anyway.
获得想要的答案。在这一步附加梦境占卜的技巧，
dream
可以直接
divination
看到对应的画面，类似于回放。除了聪明者、占卜家和窥密人等职业，借助仪式魔法也能免。
Okay, so we do have several of these. That makes me wonder as well, where do these pathways come from? You know, from a research perspective, and now I'm not talking about physics, but psychology and empirical psychology, like sociology as well. What you do is categorize answers and ideas often to get an overview over, for example, what people think, how they feel about something from their own, like in their own words, which is like not precisely what they might feel, but it's like a good indicator for some things. And I do think that several of these paths are similar. And I noticed that last time as well, and I'm now talking about the tarot cards as well a bit, because there are similar cards, like the sun and the moon are similar as they are celestial bodies. The Empress and the whatever was the other one? The Empress and the Emperor, whatever, they are similar because they're rulers, you know? Like there are still these areas in the tarot cards that are similar and they are different because the Sun and the Tower are different. The Emperor and the Fool, perhaps you could put them together because the Fool is the Emperor's biggest weakness. But, you know, I do think there are groups emerging. So I think these abilities they have from the tarot card or the Kabbalah, but I don't know the Kabbalah, they might be similar as well. And that might also explain why there are seers and mystery priors and corpse collectors, why they all can use similar ideas because they are underlying tarot card or underlying pathways are like somehow close. And I don't know what that means and why that is. Perhaps we will never find out. I wouldn't mind. But if we find out, that would be really, really dope.
勉强办到。通灵者还可与活物沟通，靠本身强大的灵性和精深的通灵技巧战胜对方的意志。
Yeah, this is as well. It is spiritual control. So the spirit normally rests inside the brain, and if you die, the spirit lingers on. And what does that mean? That's the question. I just try to answer a bit, or not answer, but give my thoughts on. So, very awesome. Very awesome.
从而获得信息，比如戴利曾经使用通灵术诱导克莱恩深层记忆。不过嘛，通灵术有时间限制，死亡超过15分钟，通灵收获的信息将断崖式的。
And is that always? That's what I was wondering. Is it always more than 15 minutes? Because this is a bit contradictory. This says more than 50 minutes, the information that can be obtained will drastically reduce. Then it says can only get superficial. And then spirit channeling itself has a high chance of failure. But it means there are possibilities where this is not the case. So this seems to be the norm, but not the absolute, if you know what I mean. That's interesting. I like that, I think.
则只能得到较为粗浅的东西啦。若是1个月以上，通灵本身都有极大概率失败呀。除了时间限制以外，沟通灵界时，通灵者也可能遭遇隐秘存在的注视。
I like that though with the hidden entities, but I do think like I know he's probably like, is this from his perspective? He might think like that, but let's assume there is a god that dies. Wouldn't his presence linger longer than 15 minutes? You know what I think? That's what I'm thinking. Like I'm just thinking about extremes here. Like I do think in the show we will probably only have the rule we just heard, but I'm just trying to think bigger. I love my good old corrupt things.
若通灵对象灵性过强，如高位非凡者亡魂，施术者可能被反向侵蚀。频繁的通灵也可能加剧精神污染。非凡者们一定要谨慎呐。
That is really interesting.
下面我们来学习一下观众途径。
The Spectator path, okay.
操控与梦境干预为
Psychological manipulation and dream interference. Love it. Love it. Dream interference is cool. Man, I love dreams so much. One of my favorite concepts. Man, I just love it so much. I mean, that's why my book is taking place in a dream, though it's a lot more stable than the dreams people have. But yeah, psychological manipulation. I hope this pathway will be more in the show because I will probably go off on it like in a positive way. So what we do a spectator telepathist, that's so weird to say. Spectator, telepathist, and psychologist. Wasn't it psychiatrist before? I would assume psychologist is what the proper translation is, but no, he says psychiatrist in the comments.
拥有出众的精神和敏锐的观察力， 像旁观者一样审视世俗社会里的演员，从他们的表情、举止、口。
Okay, so they're basically sociologists. They're just normal sociologists. That they don't measure data in their computer and calculate stuff, but they can do it in their mind. That's funny. That's cool. I would love to be that. My job would be so much easier learning about understanding and psychology.
真实的想法，从而巧妙影响、暗中引导，让事情往本身希望的方向发展。
Yeah, they seem a bit like the assassins in Gaslighting.
观察不再仅限于表面细节，而是深入到气场、以太体等神秘领域。
Ether bodies. Is the ether body the soul, or is it something entirely different again? That's weird. Also, man, oh god, this one's like the dream. Like if you are in a dream and there's your body, will your real body be hurt, or is it one of those cases where your mind will be scarred when you know what I mean? But anyway.
让读心者能异常准确地掌握人心，似乎可以读到对方的念头。
So this is almost a psychologist as well, yeah.
颜色，读取浅层次的
Again, this is similar to the seer.
而且还能初步模拟别人的思维。
Yeah, I would so be this pathway. Holy shit, man. I would be this one.
序列期，心理医生则拥有更多能力，例如震慑、狂乱、心理暗示。
Or frenzy, psychological cue, placate telepathy, etc. Placate telepathy is funny. One of my characters does have something like that. I assume if it's like that. Or placate. Placate is something one of my characters in the web novel has. In my web novel, one of the main characters has that. So if you want to see that, you can. Anyway, enough of the self-plugging. Good Eugene, yeah. Yeah, so we will see him in the future. Awesome. Yeah, I'm sorry this was not that long, but I guess that's probably because of the of my not ableness to find the chibi episode. But this was awesome, and there's so much to think about again. You know what's really cool about this show is as well, like there are these concepts, and I just love because I know these concepts in themselves that they use in this show are having a lot of potentials, and I've seen them done in many different areas and ways already in literature and fiction and all of that. So I'm really excited to see mixes of them here. Anyway, I do hope you have a great day, and we will see each other on Saturday latest for the new Lot of Mysteries episode. So till then, take care, relax a bit, read my web novel, comment on what you thought of it, and follow it. And if you really like it, consider rating it, obviously. But yeah, without further ado, do you say it at the end? I don't think you do. So I just hope you have a great day. And yeah, really take care of yourself. And I will see you soon. Bye.